TV soap new and spoilers today, we dive into one of the most heartbreaking and intense storylines to ever unfold on Days of Our Lives, Bo Brady's potential death after a prolonged coma. Fans of the show have watched Bo struggle for years, clinging to life, but the possibility of his passing sends shockwaves through Salem. In this article, we will discuss the possibility that Bo may never return to Salem again, delving into the emotional turmoil that Shawn, his son, is experiencing and the impact that this news will have on their complex relationship. The unthinkable, Bo's coma and the triggering of Shawn's guilt. As many viewers know, the chain of events that led to Bo's coma began with a shocking incident. Shawn, in a desperate attempt to protect his mother Hope, shot his father, Bo, believing he was a threat. In that moment, Shawn did not realize that Bo was not the danger he thought him to be. This action, while rooted in love and concern for Hope's safety, has haunted Shawn ever since. For a time, Shawn tried to bury his feelings of guilt, convinced that what he had done was a necessary evil. Yet, the deep emotional scars he carries were not easily healed. The decision to pull the trigger that day, despite its justification in Shawn's mind, has torn at him ever since. He spent countless hours grappling with the idea that, despite everything, he might have taken his father's life in a moment of fear, only to later learn that Bo had been in contact with Hope in secret. Shawn's struggle to reconcile his actions with the love he holds for his father has been a complex one. At times he felt betrayed, unsure of how to deal with the situation. But now, with Bo's health failing, the guilt he buried so deep inside him is starting to surface once again. The shocking news: Bo's declining health. Now, the unthinkable has become a terrifying reality. Bo's condition has worsened dramatically. After years of being in a coma, Bo is on the verge of death. The family has gathered around, hoping for a miracle, but the chances of Bo waking up and reclaiming his place in Salem seem increasingly slim. Shawn, who had finally begun to come to terms with his past actions, is now confronted with the painful reality that his father may never awaken from his coma. The news of Bo's imminent death has shaken him to the core, bringing with it a flood of emotions. The guilt that had been lying dormant within him for so long is suddenly fresh and overwhelming. Could he have done something differently? Could he have stopped the tragedy from unfolding? For Shawn, this is not just a matter of losing his father. It is the return of a grief he thought he had dealt with. Bo's death would not only mark the loss of a father, but would also highlight the irreversible consequences of Shawn's actions. In many ways, Bo's potential death represents the final chapter of their strained relationship. For Shawn, it might feel like the ultimate punishment for a decision that was made in the heat of the moment, a decision he will never be able to undo. Hope's heartbreak, the woman caught in the middle. Of course, this tragedy does not affect Shawn alone. Hope, Bo's longtime partner, has already suffered greatly from his comatose state. The two have always been a dynamic duo, but now Hope finds herself caught in a web of emotions. She has maintained a connection with Bo, even during his time in the coma, but now she faces the possibility of losing him forever. Hope, too, must wrestle with the guilt that comes with the painful truth of Shawn's actions. In some ways, she is an unwilling accomplice in the tragedy. Though she never asked Shawn to shoot Bo, her silence about her ongoing contact with Bo only deepened the emotional rift. Hope now stands at the crossroads of her own guilt and sorrow, not just for Bo, but also for Shawn, her son, who is struggling to cope with the consequences of his choices. Will Bo die? The emotional tension reaches its peak. So, what does the future hold for Bo Brady? Will he survive this final crisis, or is this the end of his journey in Salem? The emotional stakes are higher than ever. For fans who have followed Bo and Hope's saga for decades, the thought of Bo's death is almost too much to bear. But the writers of Days of Our Lives have never shied away from pushing the boundaries of drama, and this storyline is no exception. If Bo were to die after all these years in a coma, it would mark the end of a major chapter in the lives of the Brady family. For Shawn, it would be the ultimate test of his ability to forgive himself and find peace. For Hope, a heartbreaking chapter in a love story that has already weathered countless storms. But it also raises an important question. What will happen to the legacy of Bo Brady? Will the Brady family find a way to heal, or will this tragedy tear them apart forever? A final farewell. The possibility of Bo dying after such a long coma is a devastating thought, but it also carries with it a sense of closure. Bo has been a central figure in the lives of so many characters, and his eventual death, whether it happens now or later, will undoubtedly affect Salem in profound ways. Shawn's guilt will likely linger, but perhaps this will be the moment that forces him to confront the past and finally forgive himself. In the end, the fate of Bo Brady remains uncertain. Whether he survives or dies, his story is far from over. One thing is for certain, though. His impact on those around him, especially his family, will never be forgotten. As fans, we can only hope that Bo gets the peaceful ending he deserves. But we must also acknowledge the emotional journey that lies ahead for the Brady family as they face the loss of their patriarch. Our TV channel Soap News and Spoilers is the place for those who want to know how the Salem story goes, as well as great Days of Our Lives updates and news. So subscribe to our channel to get what you want. Bye-bye.